There's even a message on the screen that says it's streaming live now. Okay, good.
Okay, we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Your microphone's off still.
Thank you.
Before we go to the roll call, I just want to say something that we've all probably been reflecting on what's going on in our country for the last 2 weeks. And the pledge we take every time we have a council meeting or a workshop ends with the 3 words, justice for all. And so at the end of this meeting under council comments, Mayor Pro Tem Jessica Stickles is going to introduce a resolution that she would like the council to look at to make a statement against racism in our community or anywhere. So. And I do also want to acknowledge before we start, I want to thank everybody for being here, even though our high school senior graduates virtual awards night is happening at the very same time.
Oh,
So congratulations to all those seniors, including Jessica's son, for getting awards this evening. Wendy, do you want to take the roll call?
Mike Hobson,
Here.
Marilyn Ertley,
Here.
Deborah Nelson,
Here.
Don Manny,
Here.
Jen Schweddy,
here.
Jessica Stickles,
Here.
Michelle Blythe.
Here. Madam Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we have a special guest with us this evening, and it's my pleasure to introduce Tim Schultz, who is the CEO of SmartCap, and he's going to give us a quick project overview of their newest project in Arlington. Welcome, Tim. Oh, he's muted.
Hi, thank you for having me, Mayor Tolbert. So yeah, first of all, I'd like to just thank everyone for having me on. It was a couple of weeks ago, we presented to the Airport Commission for a development project that we are working on. And Paul asked if I would graciously come present to this group, and I was honestly thrilled for the opportunity. So I will give a quick presentation of what we're doing. But before I start that, I really would like to start by just saying that we started developing, if you go back in time, so SmartCap, we're a local acquisitions and development firm. We're located in Redmond, Washington. We started looking at developments in the region, quite frankly, and settled on Arlington as somewhere that we really wanted to build. We were looking at Everett, Arlington, Marysville, Kent Valley, South. And really what attracted us to Arlington was not only the economic viability that we believed in, but also the fact that it was such a development friendly area, and that we really believed as a newer developer that we would have really great luck building good relationships and building a platform that would allow us to continue to expand. And several years later, I am really quite thrilled to say that we've been able to achieve that, and that it's continuing to accelerate. We have great relationships with Mark Hayes. I have a great relationship with the mayor. We have had a fantastic relationship with the city attorney and Dave Ryan. So it's really been an enjoyable process for us. And I know that that is quite a rare statement to be able to make in the development world. Generally, developers and cities are kind of at odds with one another, and it is difficult for someone to come into a new jurisdiction, meet the people that are necessary to build. And it's been very successful for us and quite enjoyable. So we really do have a long-term commitment to the city of Arlington. In fact, our lead developer's wife was born in Arlington. He grew up in the area. I grew up in Chehalis, Washington, so I'm a small town kid as well. So we understand the meaning of community. We understand the meaning of small towns and the viability of high-paying jobs, growth in the marketplaces that is sustainable and functional. And so we're really honestly honored and excited to be a part of Arlington in such a significant way. So, I mean, thank everyone on this council, honestly. It's really a joy to be such an influential member of a community that I don't directly live in and have such a great relationship with the city. So it's just been it's been really pleasant. I would love to share my screen if that is possible.
It should be possible.
It is disabled on me for the moment.
The share screen button?
Someone needs to give me permission.
He just needs to, can you give him permission? He needs to be a moderator to do that. Okay, you should be able to now, Tim.
Great. Well, it still says it's disabled.
Maybe it's just a little delay getting to your screen. It showed up here that you were a co-host.
If you click on the share, there's a button just to the right of it, and it'll say multi-participant. You might need to do that on Zoom.
There we go.
Yeah.
That just changes him to
How
the.
about, did you see the share button up there?
I have a share screen for me, but not for him. Here we go. There we
Great.
go.
I got it. Okay, so I don't have audio. Great. All right, so again, so we are a local developer. We started building in Arlington in 2018 is when we broke ground on our first project. We really started looking in Arlington probably 18 months before that to just get ourselves comfortable with the marketplace, understand how we thought the growth profiles would look. Really, we're the first major developer to come up here and break ground speculative like we did. So when I say speculative, it means that we came up without a tenant in tow, and we built a 100,000 square foot Class A tilt-up building without tenants, just with the expectation of finding tenants, and we were very successful. So this presentation is really about our third project, which is Opportunity Zone Fund 2 for SmartCap. Our first project was not an Opportunity Zone Fund investment. However, we were successful in a way that we really wanted to continue to develop. And so when Opportunity Zones came about, it was really a natural progression for us. This is a two-phase development for us. The initial phase was planned to be 100,000 square feet, with the second phase being an additional 150,000 square feet. And the total project cost was estimated to be around $34 million. We are in the process of trying to expand this right now. So the first phase, we believe we're going to land more around 135,000 square feet, and the second phase around 165,000 square feet, which will increase the total project cost to approximately $42 million. We are trying to break ground, assuming we can get the right civil and SWIP and various permits, to do our first phase in July of this year. So here you'll see a map of where we have built. So our first property is right across from the City Hall, SmartCap 180th Street in development. This has Elemental Cider in it. It has Procter as a major manufacturer. Elemental is kind of a retail brewery and distribution center for cider. Procter is a great example of the tenant profile that we're trying to bring into Arlington. They're a 50,000 square foot manufacturer that we brought out of Redmond. This is a great win for Arlington, great paying jobs. They do Boeing tooling. And what we really love about this is when you look at Redmond, you're $1.20 a square foot. When you look at Ballard, you're $2 a square foot. You look at places like South Seattle, you're $1.20 square foot, $1.30 a month. These are very high rental rates for industrial properties. And so they really have two choices right now. That's either to move south, which is, when I say south, I mean Lacey, or you could move north, which is a little bit in Everett occasionally, and then Arlington, Marysville. And when you think about Boeing, when you think about manufacturing, really the workforce is north. And that's a big reason we dove into this. Our second development, so that building is 100% occupied. We finalized that building in July of 2019, which is subsequently when we broke ground on our second development, 188th Street. This was originally projected to be a two-phase development for SmartCap. The first phase was projected to be 100,000 square feet over 2 buildings. So we're currently building that right now. And if anyone's interested, by the way, please feel free to contact me afterwards. I would love to have any or all of you do a site walk and see what we build and how we build it. We have all the necessary PPE for you on site, so we can make sure that you're safe and comfortable as part of that tour if you're interested. The first phase of this is 100,000 square foot. It consists of two 50,000 square foot buildings. We currently have our walls tilted on this project and are putting roofing structures on. We are signing a lease to bring occupancy approximately to 48% on these two buildings right now, which is very exciting for us. The second phase of this development was projected to be 127,000 square feet of Class A industrial. We are actually under contract to sell that piece of property right now for a premium to another tenant. The tenant is confidential to the point where we only know the developer, which is Sierra Construction. We don't actually know the tenant, but we do know that they're a large regional tenant that will be a significant win for the Arlington marketplace. So we're personally very excited about this. We think this is an example of the future growth that we'll continue to see in Arlington. And then you can see Arlington Airport proposed development site, which is our third development. Again, our first phase of this will be approximately 135,000 square feet. Our second phase will be approximately 165,000 square feet, meaning that we're in total over the next 3 years building around 310,000 square feet of industrial manufacturing or flexible use industrial in the marketplace. So again, this is just a really brief overview of kind of a detail of where we think we'll be landing the different phases of this. What really attracted to us about working with the city, it really started about 8 or 9 months ago. We were looking at the National Foods land, which is right across the street. And subsequently, we started talking to David and building a plan for this particular parcel. And it was, again, a kind of just thank you and great job to the city and to the airport was we really came in with Mark Hayes, David Ryan, and Steve, city attorney, to modify the way the city looked at this business plan and the way the airport looked at this business plan and into something that was win-win for the airport as well as developers, not only SmartCap, but future developers. This is a really big deal. It takes a significant amount of, I'm going to skip forward for a minute. Takes a significant amount of changes to a business plan at times to make something work for a developer. And what I really wanted to stress to the commission, as well as the council members this evening, is that for SmartCap to be successful and for future developers to be successful, we really need to build a plan that is win-win. If we build a plan that jeopardizes the airport's success, we really don't do ourselves any favors in the long term. We need a healthy economy. We need other developers to be able to come into this marketplace and build something that matters and is usable and is also saleable. So for us, we're long-term committed to Arlington, meaning we don't plan to sell these projects for 10 plus years. But other developers, that might not be the case. So some of the terms we have here that were really impactful was the ground lease term. So David, right now we have a 50-year lease. The airport is working to turn this into a 75-year lease for us by removing this out of aeronautical designation. This is non-aeronautical business park that is owned by the airport. So if we are able to remove that from aeronautical designation and get the right approval from FAA, we can take that out of their jurisdiction and increase our ground lease terms, which is incredibly impactful. A few other provisions that are really important are subordination to a lender. The way we do increases to the rental rate, which again needs to be fair to the city, or fair to the airport, but also fair to the developer. We actually worked with the airport and David and the commission to get them to understand that CPI, though it's more expensive to the developer, is a critical provision for our long-term success. And the reason it's such a critical provision is when we go to sell this to an institution, MetLife, Torino, New York Life, et cetera, who we all want in this marketplace, quite frankly, we have to have algorithmic capabilities to calculate future rental rates. And CPI increases are very standard in the industry, and there's algorithms they can use to calculate that increase, and it allows them to future project their rents. And so This is a provision that having CPI increases was more expensive to the developer, but by putting a cap in place, allowed us to manage that risk in a smart way with periodic resets. So the city was safeguarded, the airport was safeguarded, but the developer got what they needed to be able to sell this project in the future. So incredibly critical and valuable considerations that were never something that the airport could have considered in the past. We were able to work with in a productive way to achieve a result that worked for both groups. So skipping back, this is an example of the buildings that we build. We build very flexible assets. Our 180th Street property broke down to, on the small size, 8,500 square foot bays, and on the large size, a single tenant user. 188, our size actually breaks down to approximately 5,700 square feet, and that's just due to the depth of the building. So you can see we build very attractive buildings. Our goal is to have Class A buildings in this marketplace, to build something that is long-term sustainable and that is going to increase the visual quality of not only our assets, but of the business parks that we build in. This is an actual rendering. The top picture on the right here is an actual rendering of our first development project that we have completed. SmartCap 188, you can see under there. These pictures are actually several weeks old at this point, as you can see. So at this point, we have roofs on these buildings. They're quite a ways along, and we're expecting to have this project completed in mid-July. Timeline, I'm going to skip over this for now. This is, I think, a really great slide that, again, I haven't updated since we've increased our development footprint. You can see we're projecting that we've created approximately 578 jobs in the Arlington marketplace. What's really great about this is most of these jobs have come from outside of Arlington. There are a couple specific cases where we've increased and expanded tenants within the Arlington marketplace. But again, we're expanding these tenants, bringing additional jobs and additional high-paying jobs that allow people to live in the community and thrive in the community. We're really not bringing in jobs that are low-paying, don't allow people to buy or rent homes. We're really part of the community that is allowing for sustainable and economic growth. And that's something that I think is very exciting to us. When you look at the increased square footage that we're creating as part of our updated plan, we're probably closer to 625 jobs that we'll bring to Arlington with just these developments. I'm sure, Mayor Tolbert, you've probably seen there's other interested developers in the marketplace at this point as well. So SmartCap has really come in over the last 3 years and built a foundation that's allowing these other developers to expand. So I would really expect this to be a very different marketplace in 5 years than it is today, which is, I think, is a great thing for the city. The remaining slides are honestly, I would be happy to send a PDF if this has not been sent out, but they're really more about market data and comparable analysis to the market. So this is about vacancies, about market rent growth, about assets under construction. You can see Gateway Development. MI5 is actually in Marysville. UPS is in Marysville. But these developments are starting to come into the CIC, which I think was an incredible provision that the city of Arlington and Marysville cooperatively put together. This is a big win. It's been exciting for tenants. We've specifically won tenants into this marketplace because of the CIC and some of the tax provisions associated with that. So it was really a great, thoughtful decision by the government in this place to put those programs in place to really help growth. Again, these are kind of some of the market properties that we compare our properties to. Seaway is a big one in Everett that we look at continuously. Our rental rates are always going to be slightly behind Seaway, but we're seeing more and more of these industries push into Arlington. If you looked 5 years ago, you wouldn't have had a Swire, you wouldn't have had a Procter, you wouldn't have had some of these larger tenants moving into this marketplace. So we really expect that gap to continue to shrink over the coming years. And really the rest is just kind of data for a background. So a little bit on Joe and I, we're the founders of SmartCap. We're pushing about 250 million in total transactions at this point, starting in 2010. Again, we are highly committed to our local marketplaces, and especially from a development perspective, we're highly committed to Arlington. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have any. Otherwise, I really just appreciate the time and you guys having me back on for an additional presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. Can we, yeah, there we go. Can we put it back on the group link? I also want to say to the council that Tim was very instrumental in coming on our local economic recovery team to look at how we move our businesses forward after the COVID-19. And he was the first one to come and share fully developed plans for manufacturing space, office space, construction spaces that our other businesses were able to learn from.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we've put a lot of time. So our portfolio is probably just under 750,000 square feet, most of it in Snohomish County. We own a little bit in Bellevue areas, but we own a fair bit of office buildings, as well as our just, working to have our own, being an essential business, working to have our own employees feel safe and comfortable within our office place. So we spent significant time on our COVID response, both from, cleaning buildings to ensuring our tenants were comfortable to ensuring our employees were comfortable. So I was really excited to be a part of that council in trying to help other businesses establish the plans and processes they needed. It also enabled, when Inslee came out with the rules for smart cap construction, it really enabled us to get back to work within a week, which is relatively difficult for a large organization. So it was great that we had those plans in place. We already had most of our PPE requirements. We were already requiring face masks, gloves, glasses. So we kind of had, I'll call it 95% of the requirements down ahead of time. So that was a big win for us.
So does anybody have any questions for Tim? This new development is in the Airport Business Park, which the city's been planning for over 30 years now for development there. So it's kind of exciting that this is the first one that will happen. Jessica?
Yeah, I was wondering, did I read it right on your report that you're looking to charge about 35 cents a square foot plus triple net?
No, that's the ground lease charge. It's actually 36 cents. I just didn't update the slides. So the ground lease from the airport is 36 cents a square foot with CPI annual escalations. We are pro forma. It really depends on the tenant improvement package. One of the difficult aspects of building manufacturing space is it's very high power. Oftentimes, it's complicated build outs. So we will provide additional tenant improvement dollars to our tenants, oftentimes depending on credit, and amortize that back into the lease. So really our ranges for our blended ranges for warehouse would be 75 to even 90 cents in some cases. And that really is dictated on if it's a simple build out where they need 5% office and a little bit of warehouse improvements, that's a relatively inexpensive cost for us compared to if they need 15% office and heavy power, et cetera. We'll take those costs and bring them back into the lease to make it affordable for the tenant so that they can amortize those costs over 5, 7, or 10 years, depending on their business needs.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for Tim?
Oh, I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
We do too.
Bringing jobs in that people can afford to purchase homes is exactly the vision we've talked about for a number of years. So it's great. Tim, thank you for coming and sharing your presentation to the council.
Yeah, and thank you as well, Mayor Tolbert. I can't say how valuable the relationship with the city of Arlington is. And I can assure everyone on this council that we will work to do our part to maintain that relationship. And we're excited about the next 10 to 15 years of development in this market.
We have some of the best staff in all of Snohomish County, so we understand that. Thank you.
You do, yeah. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Okay, so we'll move into our workshop items. And the first item is the termination of the interlocal agreement with Snohomish County for Twin River Park maintenance. James Trefi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and Mr. Ellis. I come before you tonight with a proposal to terminate the interlocal agreement with Snohomish County for the maintenance at Twin Rivers Park. We had recently signed a renewal of this agreement back in 2018. We basically have some provisions in there that allow for termination of the agreement for lack of funding or resources. And under the current circumstances, we currently don't have the State Department of Corrections work crews available to us. We have not had them since the onset of the current pandemic, and it's not going to be an available resource to us for the foreseeable future. We're also currently running with one open position in the Maintenance and Operations Department, and we did not fill 2 of our seasonal positions. Reallocating staff and making sure that we're available to kind of clean and sanitize parks and restrooms once we're able to reopen. Hopefully, end of phase 2, beginning of phase 3 will require additional staff time as well. Based on circumstances, we started talking with the county about potential termination of the agreement. We developed a close relationship, even more so last year or two, trying to deal with challenges with the beach at the park, with litter cleanup, and developed a good relationship, particularly with park rangers Mike Remley and Jerry Smith, the regional kind of director Russ Basenko, and Tom Hagan, the director of the Parks Department. And we kind of felt it was a good time to transition, and particularly with the lack of revenue, that will buy us back the FTE hours we need to maintain our own city parks and infrastructure. As part of this, Sarah Lopez took the idea to the commission last week. They went ahead and recommended the termination of that agreement as well, but did want to revisit it in 2021 to see if there was any kind of change of circumstance. And did want to publicly express that they do value those athletic facilities, including the soccer and softball fields located at Twin Rivers. Stille Valley Little League also has a good, close relationship with the County Parks Department. They, along with the other users, were all notified of this coming onto the council agenda for workshop this evening for a potential vote next week. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. This will basically buy us back at least a half an FTE's worth of weed labor just in mowing. That doesn't include weed eating or field dressing or other maintenance or needs that we have had over the course of time operating the maintenance services at the park since I've been here.
Jan, and then Deborah, and then Marilyn.
Okay, so is the county going to maintain the park now? I mean, I know the ball fields and everything, and with people going in there, we know we've had complaints before, but are they going to keep that up?
So, in our conversations with the county, they were responsive more so over the last year to assist us with that, and it did a good job, quite frankly, last year of cleaning up some of the litter at the beach that we had some issues with. A lot of that beach area washed out over the winter, and so the physical configuration of the park is different. Given the current kind of phased reopening and the available revenues that the county has, and that we have, more likely than not, a lot of the park for this year go unused for purposes of organized athletic activities, at least until fall or later in the year. I think the county would engage in some kind of process with the users of the park about what that might look like in the future. So I couldn't tell you with 100%, right now what their future intention would be if we pulled out of that maintenance agreement. They have outreach to all of the current users and asked them to put in field applications for use of the park in the same way that they do now with the city of Arlington for the athleticals.
Okay, thank you.
Deborah?
I was curious if those athletic associations have responded. Has the city or the park commission heard from those groups? And is there any direction to them to how to work with the county? I hate to leave them high and dry.
Yeah, no, there's been in contact with them, and we did get a statement from the Stille Valley Little League today, and I'll just read to you. to Snohomish County, City of Arlington, and all concerned. For the past several years, Stille Valley Little League has used the Twin Rivers Park athletic fields to host practices, games. It has been a great park for us and a convenient location for our participants and families in Arlington Heights, Oso, and Arlington. We appreciate the relationship we've had with the city on scheduling and maintenance of the fields and hope that continues with the county. We're happy to assist in keeping the fields up and continue to use our league and others. Please let us know how we can help if you have any other questions. And so I think a lot of those users have stepped up and have talked with the county about potentially putting volunteer labor to maintain those fields if the county doesn't have sufficient revenue or staff to do that themselves. And have been in contact with the county and already have those relationships formed because they're using county fields in other circumstances. And that's the only one that I've heard back from specifically that Sarah shared with me.
Marilyn?
Those are questions I had as well, but I was wondering if we're just terminating the contract, we're not suspending it and readdressing it next year. And I think at the park board meeting, we discussed that they would close it off except for the front part of the parking lot. Do you remember that, James?
For the time being, the last phone conversation that we had with them was 2 weeks ago, and that was kind of their initial intent right now, because the fields at that time could not be used. So they were going to go ahead and contract with the same service provider to hay out the fields that we use for Country Charm. And they were going to limit access to park. So you could still go down there for recreational purposes, but the ball fields themselves and the restrooms would remain to be closed for some time.
Okay.
So I think what we're talking about is terminating this contract and looking at it again in 2021 if our labor situation changes. And I also think at that time, we have a chance to write a contract, should we choose to do this, that can address some of the problems we've had with the last couple of years over the issues at the park and whose jurisdiction it is. And because it certainly has been challenging.
Yes.
Deborah, one more question?
One more question, and it just, because what I'm trying to think of is if that park is closed and through the summer, people are parking there to go down to the river. So if that's closed off, those people are going to be parking along the highway probably. And that's not city jurisdiction, that would be sheriff. I'm just curious, I don't know, I just see a big mess happening there. It concerns me a bit.
We did talk with them about putting up some additional signs, even with the full parking lot, it's still an issue sometimes in the summer, and getting the sheriffs out to potentially ticket people or to get them off that right away has been a challenge at some points. And so, you know, I don't know if that be made better or worse given the current circumstances. There's not as many people that are out. That may increase as time goes on. Some of the, you know, reopening occurs. And I think the other thing to kind of think about too is, you know, you've got, you know, the city maintaining what is essentially a regional resource. And it's a great source for those people in the city that do use it. But you have people from Darrington and from Oso and from Marysville and all the other surrounding areas, particularly with the disc golf course, who don't necessarily reside in the city limits. And for that reason, I also think it's appropriate in terms of recommending the termination of the agreement. It is a county resource, it is a regional resource. And I think probably better left to them to do that. And to the mayor's point, we basically have an option under the current agreement to terminate for lack of revenue, and that's why we're recommending doing it at this time. Otherwise, we would have a 180-day notice period under any other circumstance to terminate that agreement. So it is a time now to go ahead and do that. We can evaluate next year as Park has asked us to do and take that up again with the council if we don't feel like the county is engaged with the public to a sufficient degree, or we have other ideas for how we might be able to partner with them to maintain the use in a way that's best for the community.
And I'll reiterate, as James said, most of the beach has washed away there, so that might have washed away some of the problems. So Councilmember Hobson had his hand up, and then Councilmember Vanny.
Yeah, when Mayor, when you said there were some other issues that you were thinking about renegotiating in 2021, what are some of the issues you were referring to, perhaps other than the one that James just described?
think the one that James was describing, I think we need an agreement that has a stronger accountability and responsibility for some of the issues that were faced actually down at the river, not on park property, but the access was through the park. And so we needed a stronger partnership with Snohomish County in terms of who, because we had the maintenance contract, there was some issues there, not last year, but the year before, where we certainly needed some help, particularly in policing an area outside our jurisdiction that was taking a lot of resources.
And it was better last year because we did partner with the county and had more resources available, particularly with the ATVs that were required by the police department, but that required our personnel not only in the maintenance department, also with police to patrol that area that's outside city limits.
Don, did you have a question?
Yeah, my biggest concern with closing it down is basically with the restrooms. I know the restrooms do end up being a real problem a lot of times, but the number of people that do go down there to use the beach, I have seen numbers of them using the restrooms when they need to use the restroom. I'm concerned of no bathrooms there. Are we going to turn the woods into a big cesspool?
And you know, that's a concern with all of our parks as well, with the current bathrooms being closed. And they have a porta potty out there, and will maintain, you know, porta potties as needed. Basically, right now, the recommendation is to have no more than one person in the bathroom anyway. And the porta potties are a little bit easier to clean and sanitize. We have one of them down here at Legion Park behind me. It looks, you can't tell by the view. And we'll probably get another one down there as well, because we know that traffic will pick up over the sun on the trail. But they can sanitize them, replace them a little bit more easily. That we can't have staff go in to do that. So we can't offer that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was my biggest concern, was no bathroom facilities whatsoever. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, thank you, James.
Thank you.
So our next item is the bid award for the 2020 Utility and Pavement Preservation. Jim Kelly.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and council members. This item being brought before you is the bid for the 2020 Utility and Pavement Preservation Project, what we refer to as the UPP. We have done this for many years now. Every year we go forward, we identify roads that need preservation. We schedule to do a pavement preservation over those roads. And at the same time, we go in beforehand and we upgrade the utilities that are below the pavement so we don't have to rip it up in the future. This year, we completed our pavement preservation design. We advertised and we received a lot of good bids, 2 very competitive bids, JB Asphalt and Reese Construction. They were separated by a little bit over $600. The Reese Construction, in reviewing JB Asphalt's bid, they believe that there was some inconsistencies in the bid, and as such, they filed a protest. The City of Arlington, we addressed all the concerns that Reese Construction had. We reviewed the JB Asphalt bid, we discussed it with the city attorney, and we found that the concerns weren't material to giving favor to JB Asphalt so that they would win the bid. As such, we're recommending that we award the bid to JB Asphalt in the amount of $2,497,643.04.
Jan?
Okay, so I read through all of that, Jim, and I guess my one question I would ask, Reese Construction, and I know you said you went through with Steve and everything. There's nothing that they can't come back and sue us, can they?
Reese Construction?
Yes.
No.
Okay, thank you.
And just to let you know, I spoke with Reese Construction last Friday, and they acquiesced. They understood. They knew our decision that we were going to award it to JB Asphalt. About 3 years ago, we had the same thing come up between Reese Construction and SC Construction. However, Reese was the lower bidder. SC Construction filed a protest. We evaluated their protest, and we found that the claims were not substantiated, and we just awarded it to Reese. So this type of protest is a familiar happening amongst several contracts when you have very close competitive bids.
Okay,
Did you have
thank
a
you.
question?
Were you talking to me, Barb?
I was, yes.
Okay. Yeah, the one question, some of my concerns I've got, Jim, is that I'm concerned about JB being able to do the major water lines and sewer lines. I've heard they don't do that bigger stuff, and also they mentioned on their website that they only do smaller pipe and drain type pipes. And if it comes to a bigger project, they would then subcontract it. So I'm concerned about the abilities, because I don't know if they did, and according just reading through the or what do you want to call it, their
Protest.
request for a review or whatever, they were talking about subcontractors supposedly being listed in this bid package, but they didn't list anything in there for subcontractors. They did handwrite something in there for Rogers Electric or something, but I guess that was acceptable. But like I say, I'm concerned with them being able to do bigger stuff for our infrastructure and have it last without any issues.
They did list, if you looked deep into the bid package, DG Backhoe out of Lake Stevens is given the utility work on this project, which basically I believe there's more utility work than there's paving work. But we reviewed DG Backhoe, and they are a very good company. They do a lot of water main and sewer main work. So we had no issues with DG Backhoe. And DG Backhoe will be the subcontractor doing all the utility work. JB Asphalt is the prime doing the paving, the curb ramps, and any curbing, concrete flat work.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't see the DG and the paperwork that I had.
It wasn't listed in the protest. It's in the bid package. If you'd like a copy of the bid package, I'd be more than happy to send it to you.
Yeah, if you could.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, Deborah?
Jim, remind me if we've dealt with this company in the past with pavement work.
Yes, we did.
But okay, several years ago. Can you remind me what part?
French. It started.
That's what I thought.
So it was our first utility pavement preservation project that we did. We worked with JB, and it was a unique experience both for us as we were developing how you do a pavement preservation program, and JB Asphalt, because the person who owns it now, he took it over from his father, and that was the first year of him running the company, and the father just sort of staying around in the background. But they did good work. Their pavement is still holding up today.
All right, okay, I'm going to question you on that because
Okay.
I do remember problems with that job, and the pavement it seems to me it got wavy or something, and there were problems that we had to go back and fix, or it's several years ago now, maybe 6 years ago that we did that, but I just want to make sure we're getting good quality work.
When we first started out, we followed our pavement management program, or PMP, to the
I
letter.
remember that. We've learned.
And then one of the methodologies that were promoted by the firm that wrote the PMP for us was to do a grind in place. And that we did on French Street, the southernmost blocks on French Street, and it did not work. And it turned out to be, honestly, I still have nightmares today. It looked like a war zone.
It did.
And so we had to come back in there. So over the weekend, it was absolutely horrible. We came back in there on Monday morning. We had the contractor dig out everything he put down. There was some change orders, but it was, like I said, it was also a learning experience.
Yeah. So we won't do that again, right?
Right now we have basically two methodologies. We do either a full road construction, or we just do a 2-inch mill and fill.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, you're so welcome.
We hope you sleep well tonight.
It's done and over.
Any other questions or comments for Jim on this? Concerns? No? All right, thank you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor and council members.
Okay, our third and final item this evening is a conveyance of real property for right-of-way purposes related to the villas and the Arlington project. Mark Hayes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So as described in the council agenda bill, this is a conveyance of 2 strips of property related to the villas at Arlington project. One of the strips is on 31st Avenue, the other is on Smoky Point Boulevard. All the roadway construction has been completed. This was just a closeout of this project, and the conveyances of these properties are just housekeeping items. And so they were shown on the actual plat documents, but we just want to make sure they're done and recorded independently.
Does anybody have any questions for Mark on this?
Just a quick one.
Go ahead.
On the easement that's on Smoky Point Boulevard, does that take in account the fact that we're widening from 174th up to 200?
Yeah, so that was one of our best guess scenarios, which is why the corridor plan is so important. But we believe it is wide enough to accommodate our future right-of-way build out in there. And it really does kind of is a hybrid of what we'd like to see along the commercial corridor on Smoky Point Boulevard, with the off-street, the drop lane, and the on-street parking.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Paul, do you have an administrative report this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple items I just wanted to bring up to council. First, if you haven't been downtown, M&O put picnic tables out along Olympic Avenue here on city property and some in the park and the plaza. The plan there is that now that we're in phase 2 and the weather's getting a little bit nicer, restaurants are allowed to be open in phase 2, but at a reduced occupancy. So we just put some tables out downtown where we could, so that hopefully that will attract more people downtown, and the restaurants will be able to still do some takeout orders to supplement the fact that they're open at a lower occupancy. So just if you're curious why the tables were there, that's the reasoning.
Quick question, Paul, with that, were there trash cans placed strategically to the tables?
Well, what we did is we placed the tables strategically with the trash cans that were already there. And they are quite a ways apart, so that we have social distancing between the tables, because group sizes are still small in phase 2.
That's an excellent idea. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I'll make sure to pass that along to M&O. Kristen Garcia wanted to do a report tonight on the rental relief grant, but she was having some issues logging in. So she sent me the info, and I'll let you know what we've got so far. We received 42 applications for that grant, a total of $107,000 roughly, if they all qualified for what they asked for. 7 of the 42 that we received did not qualify. They were missing documentation and some other items that staff is working with them on. We did notice that we had quite a few of them that didn't have city business license. Sarah and Kristen gave those businesses the opportunity to apply for their business license and continue to submit their grant so that they would qualify. So what we're figuring is that if we extend this, since we didn't expend all of the money that was approved in the budget, we could extend the deadline or do a round 2. We don't want the qualified applicants that are here to have to wait. So the suggestion is that we'll go ahead and process these applicants and get their checks out to the ones that qualify. And in the meantime, we can open this up for a round 2 and expend the rest of the funds.
just as a reminder, the grants closed at 10 o'clock this morning. So we would then do a whole new release with the council's permission and new notices out there to hopefully expend the rest of the funds.
Do we need to do a, another resolution or anything, or can you just go ahead and?
I think if you give me the head nod, it's okay to reopen it up. I don't think the dates were part of our resolution.
Right.
I think our intent was to expend all the money.
Let's do it.
You know, we maybe need to do some future information on the importance of having a city business license as well as a state business license. But I thought Kristen and Sarah were doing the right thing by allowing people to go rectify that with their application.
How much would be used of the total CARES grant if all 42 applicants were approved?
He said 107,000.
7 was what was, yeah.
That leaves about 93,000 left.
I think that's, oops. I think that's kind of a good sign though, too, that not as many people as we thought would need it or would apply have applied. I mean, meaning that I thought there'd be like so many people, you'd almost have to turn people away. So I think that's kind of a good sign. I mean, I look at it as a good sign in the businesses and where they stand here in Arlington. Sounds like a positive.
In response to that, though, I had a business call me yesterday, and she said that she had a bunch of family things happen and she ran out of time to do it. So I think it's really excellent that we can continue it. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's been a challenging, stressful time for our businesses, and we talked about wanting to keep this low intensity and low stress. And so thank you for that. So we will open it back up again, get all that ready to go out. Okay, so are there any, there was no members from the public that wish to speak this evening. And now we're on to the comments from the council members. Deborah, then Jan, and then Jessica.
Thank you. I just wanted to tell my fellow council people that after reviewing all of the answers from WSU, from Martha, which thank you to her, by the way, for taking such a long time, I'm sure, because I had a lot of questions. But anyway, I just really, now I feel comfortable with this proposal and would encourage it to move forward swiftly for the helping of our businesses. So as long as the rest of the council is okay with it, I'm totally fine with it moving forward.
Yeah, I'm too, after seeing the responses to your questions, Deborah.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody else okay with that too?
Yeah. Yes.
And Martha from WSU did want me to extend the invitation. Anytime council member has a question, they're welcome to contact her directly as well too. And I think her email address was on that questions I forwarded, the answers I forwarded to you.
Thank you.
Marilyn, did you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It went so fast, I didn't know if something flew across your screen.
You never know around here. It could be a flying cat or something.
I was seeing a cat in the back of Deborah's screen a moment ago.
Yeah.
I know. I had one wandering around my feet here a minute ago.
Snuck in.
So I just wanted to kind of fill people in on the Centennial Trail Coalition. I thought we've been discussing this for a few meetings now, but they are going to put up new signage on the trail, and this would be the entire trail through Snohomish County. And the portion through Arlington, it is slightly separated out. And so the Trail Coalition has contributed $6,000 to the signs, and then the county is going to pay. And they're kind of hoping that Arlington could chip in a little bit. And so what these are they're signs that would be at intersections that would give the street name of where you are. And there's also, the way the sign is designed, it would allow for additional signage to be put on there should we choose to do that within the city of Arlington. So part of it is safety, and so people know where they are, and if they had an accident or something, they can reference, where they are if they call for help. That's more important outside the city because we have it's a short area and it's pretty easy to know where you are. But that was the main thing for safety, and also for downtown businesses, to let the people on the trail know where they're at, and we could potentially advertise businesses or happenings or whatever on these signs. So I don't know what the cost is. I just don't know. I just want you to think about it. As soon as I have an official amount, I'll talk to the mayor and Kristen and see what we could do. I'm thinking $1,500, something like that. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but I think it would be very valuable to have the continuity of signage that doesn't just end at Arlington and then take up again. So
Wayfinding sign came out of our Western Washington University study as something that would be prudent to put on the trail to drive people into the retail and restaurant corridors in Arlington. I would love if you have if you have a picture of what that signage looks like. I think we'd all want to see a visual representation of it.
I might. I just have a written one, but I can. The guy that's doing it, I could maybe get something from him, and I don't have an exact quote back yet from the county. So as soon as I have that, I'll bring it.
Okay, Deborah had her hand up, and then Michelle, and
Well,
then
I'm just going to ask,
and then Dawn.
doesn't the park commission or park have money for something like that, for wayfinding signs or to fund it? And I just think it's a great idea, Marilyn. So
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle?
Park, maybe the LTAC. It seems to be really fitting for that.
So let me take the ones that had their hands up. I saw Michelle, and then Jan, and then Dawn.
Can I just finish with one thing?
Absolutely.
On the same topic is the trail, and they're finishing the slide area kind of by Trafton there. And so the Trail Coalition asked the mayor to sign a letter of support. It requires no money from us, but it does show that we are supporting that the county complete that section that have the slide for economic reasons and bringing people into Arlington. And that letter has gone out. So thank you, Barb.
You're welcome. And that letter is to support the funding request they're making in order to repair that section and make it complete.
Exactly.
Michelle?
Marilyn, was that 1,500 total for the signs, all the signs you'd want to put up approximately?
I think there's 8 or 9 signs within Arlington. There's not very much. It's a small ask, but it's a big benefit. And, even if it's under $2,000, they kind of not exactly sure. And I'm not sure they may come up with giving us the signs if we put them in or something like that, install them. But I'm still working on it. I just wanted to get everybody kind of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. I mean, there's so many people that use the trails, and I think that's a wonderful idea for sure.
Mm-hmm. Jan?
Okay, can I change subjects?
Dawn, did you want to speak on this subject or a new subject?
It's a different.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes, hang on just a second. Jessica, you want to wait till the end?
Yeah, because I have a council report too, so that's totally fine.
Okay, go ahead, Jan.
Okay, my question is to you and Paul. Is it possible for the council to know before Friday night what the police are planning on doing with the march?
Yes, we're meeting tomorrow morning. And so we'll be happy to send you a report after that of what the plans are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I intend to go, by the way. My whole family is going.
Okay. Take your masks.
Oh yeah. And thank you for the masks.
You're welcome. Dawn?
Okay, that was one of my questions, but I got another one too, and this might be for Paul. This goes quite a ways back. I remember at one of the council meetings there was some talk about Fire District 21 and a new station up Burn Hill area for this side of the river. I was just wondering if anything's pursuing with that, and if Arlington had anything to do with it.
We actually, Jim and I just met with them last week and talked about water service and stuff up there. So they're in the early planning stages. But yeah, they bought a piece of property on McElroy, and they're still moving forward with that concept of having a station up there.
Yeah, I remember some talk about it. Like I said, I've been wondering with the RFA and all this discussion we've had, I was wondering what was going on with that part of it. Now, you say it's out at the McElroy Road?
Yeah.
No, how far out does Arlington's water go that way? That's quite a ways out there, isn't it?
This is a ways out there, but it is within our service area, our water service area.
Okay, good. We'll put some more line in there and get some more hookups.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Council comments or reports? Mike?
I'll just say one thing that I think that the council might want to be thinking about. It might be slightly premature now, but as we all know, there's a whole ruckus going on here with the police in general, and about excessive force or use of force. And so I went through the policy and I saw the email that you sent, Barb. And when I looked at it, I do see some areas that I think that it would be worthwhile for the council to take a hard look at and possibly offer some changes. I'm not going to spell them out or tonight or anything, but it's just something that I've been looking at. And I think it's something that the council should look at as a policy-making body here in Arlington. And obviously the current situation is not good. And so I just think that it's something that's national, it's state, it's everywhere, and that we should also be looking at. And I'll just leave it at that for tonight.
Okay, and I will just mention for anybody that's listening, in order of transparency, we have put our police policy manual up online on our website on the police page so that everybody can read it. Yeah. Okay, I guess that leaves you, Jessica.
Okay, well, I wanted to start it with a public safety liaison report. So met with the chiefs for fire and police. Fire department still has 0 COVID cases within the department. Right now, they've got ample supplies through the Department of Emergency Management. And so they're also able to share with the police department as needed. They have 3 levels of, I don't know what the wording they use is, but it's basically severity of how much they get ready for a call. And so level 3 is the highest, full garb, everything. And so they're still at level 3. The police, they are doing about 80 touches a day, which is potential exposure. And they are just now switching to level 2. They have 0 COVID cases in their department as well. So that's pretty good news. Onto a separate topic.
Can I just break in there real quick and just let you know that so that all the council is aware, Department of Labor and Industries did come out with requirements for all employees in offices who are not in offices alone to wear PPE or masks, face coverings while they're at work. So Paul did institute a policy with James for all of our employees that interact with the public or in office with other people. So when you come to visit City Hall now, bring your masks. You'll be required wearing.
So then the other thing I have is, so many of you guys know on June 3rd that the Snohomish County Council passed a resolution in response to the wrongful death of George Floyd and others, condemning racism and supporting peaceful protests throughout Snohomish County. So I emailed it to all of you guys because normally we would hand out a hard copy at the meeting. But I worked with Russell Rita at the county council office and had a resolution, their resolution edited so that it fit Arlington. And I'd like to submit it for your guys's potential of passing it next week.
Sounds good to me.
I'm in favor of this, Jessica. Thank you very much for taking the lead on it.
Thank you. And thank you, Deborah, for being another set of eyes and ears for me on it as well.
Yes, I totally appreciate it. And the one thing in the second paragraph, you mentioned George Floyd, but you also said, and many others, which I really appreciated, because it isn't just one single person. And I really, really like the idea that our city can pass a resolution so everybody knows how we feel, because I think it's important right now. My only hope, and this whole thing just tears me apart, I have no question whatsoever about our polices, the staff, everything. I am not concerned about them, but there is a concern across our country. And my hope is that when this is, that cities like us will do this enough that the attention is there and that it's going to make a difference. So thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. I'd like to do a call to the other cities in the county as well, to hopefully adopt some sort of resolution for their city. One thing I really appreciated about the county council too is that they mentioned denouncing racism is an important start, but there's still other steps that need to be taken, other things to do, and we each would make our own commitment and things we can do. And I'm very happy to see that the city's already publishing the law enforcement policies, and it looks like there's more research being done with that. We might even do something like a community advisory committee, something to that effect. But I'd like it to be, even if we do agree and pass the resolution next week, I'd like us to try to come up with something else we could do, another action item, so we continue the work.
So I'm going to take a moment to invite all of the council to plug into the Stronger Together initiative that was going to have the multicultural event that was canceled due to COVID, but has now been rescheduled in Legion Park till September. But Will Nelson is taking a lead to do Zoom community conversations around issues that people of color can face, even in a community like Arlington. And this is probably voices we all need to hear and hear those experiences. So they have a Facebook page where you can sign up so that you can be invited to those meetings. Jessica, do you think you might want to add to your resolution as one of the therefores is to invite other cities in Snohomish County to make similar declarations?
I didn't plan on it because I wasn't going to have it be part of the resolution itself, but I'm open to it if that's what you guys want.
I think it's a good lead.
And so we'll put this on the agenda then for next meeting at the beginning as a resolution and let Jessica read it. That's all right.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jessica. Really support this.
Yeah, I really want to also give you kudos for taking the lead on this, as well as your phone calls and communication to me that said you're ready to be involved in anything over the next several years on these issues. I really appreciate that. So are we done with council comments? I don't want to cut anybody off. Deborah.
I'm just going to share one experience I had today. So I went to Everett and marched in the protest with the Snohomish County Public Defenders that say that Black Lives Matter. And it was very interesting, the facts, the data that I was hearing, that the defenders were saying that 75% of their cases each day are Black lives. And that is disproportionate to the amount of Black people that live in Snohomish County. And so they have great concern about the inequity that happens in our justice system in Snohomish County. And it was a peaceful protest, and we walked for an hour through the main streets of Everett, and it was a good experience. It was a very moving experience. There were times that many of us had tears when you hear the names of all the people who have lost their lives to violence. So anyway, I was happy to be able to have expressed my freedoms of my country and be able to participate in that.
Thank you, Deborah. Anybody else? So we have 3 items on the agenda. We've added a resolution for next week. Is there anything you would like to see on the consent agenda?
I think item C.
The right of way?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, Mark.
Is Mark still stuck with us here? All right. Anybody have any objections to that?
No.
All right, so we'll move that to consent agenda. That's it.
Okay, if that is it, then Madam Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Night all.